What if I told you Germany's deadliest bomber wasn't the Stuka or the Heinkel, but a plane so fast it dodged Spitfires? A bomber with a cockpit pressurized like a spaceship and cameras sharper than a sniper scope. This is the Junkers Ju-188, a technological marvel that could have rewritten the war. This bomber was everything the Third Reich needed, everything but timely. Welcome to Historical Digs, where we unearth the untold tales of history's most ingenious machines. A falcon born in a cage. In 1942, the Luftwaffe faced an existential reckoning. Their once vaunted Ju-88, the Wolf of the Skies, has lost its edge. Allied radar networks tracked its lumbering frame, while Spitfire's Mark IX sliced through its formations with ease. Junkers engineers, tasked with reinventing the wheel, responded not with incremental upgrades, but with a quantum leap, the Ju-188. This wasn't just a new bomber, it was a manifesto of German engineering ambition, wrapped in an airframe so advanced it bordered on arrogance. The Ju-188's design was a masterclass in aerodynamics. Its wings, tapered like a falcon's, reduced drag by 18% compared to the Ju-88, enabling a top speed of 325 miles per hour, fast enough to challenge Allied interceptors in level flight. But speed was just the opening act. The cockpit, made using a complex system of rubber seals and compressed air, offered limited pressurization, reducing crew fatigue at high altitudes but still requiring oxygen masks above certain thresholds. A feature so rare that only the American B-29 boasted similar luxury. Engineers compared the experience to working in a submarine that flew, as one Junkers technician noted in a 1943 memo. For crews accustomed to frostbitten fingers and hypoxia, it was like swapping a horse cart for a Mercedes. Before we dig deeper into the Ju-188's crazy origin story, hit that like button and subscribe to Historical Digs. Your support helps us unearth the lost stories of history's most ingenious war machines. Then there were the eyes. The Ju-188E reconnaissance variant carried the RB-2030 camera, a 200-pound behemoth with a resolution sharp enough to distinguish truck models from 5 miles up. In March 1944, a Ju-188 overflying Scotland captured images of the newly arrived USS Ranger aircraft carrier, intel that could have reshaped U-boat tactics if Germany still had a functional navy. RAF Flight Lieutenant James Thompson, who later intercepted a Ju-188, admitted in a debrief, "We'd heard rumors about their cameras, but seeing the clarity, it was like they'd stolen our future." Yet, every innovation carried a hidden tax. The Ju-188's hydraulics, precise enough to adjust flaps mid-dive, required tolerances of 0.002 inches, near impossible in war-torn Germany. Its twin BMW 801 engines, capable of 1,750 horsepower, devoured synthetic fuel at 140 gallons per hour, a rate that strained Hitler's dwindling stockpiles. Junkers had made a thoroughbred, but the Third Reich was running out of oats. From blueprint to battlefield, the production nightmare. The Ju-188's tragedy wasn't its design, it was the industrial apocalypse that birthed it. By 1943, Junkers' main factory in Dessau lay in ruins, its assembly line shredded by RAF Bomber Command's relentless dehousing raids. Skilled machinists, the kind who could eyeball a turbine blade's curvature, had been bled dry by the Eastern Front, replaced by French POWs and Ukrainian conscripts who'd never held a rivet gun. A December 1943 SS Security report warned workers in Bernburg plant deliberately misalign engine mounts. Estimate 20% of Ju-188s require post-assembly corrections. The Reich's desperation had turned its own factories into theaters of silent rebellion. Production quotas became a grim joke. Despite Albert Speer's armaments miracle propaganda, Junkers managed only 37 Ju-188s per month by mid-1944, a shameful crawl compared to the 600-plus B-24s rolling off Ford's Willow Run line weekly. Compounding the farce, Hitler's obsession with the Me-262 jet diverted critical alloys like tungsten and chromium away from Ju-188 plants. Engineers pleaded for resources. Instead, they got orders to simplify designs. The result? Ju-188s with plywood tail sections and unarmored fuel tanks, a death sentence for crews. Allied bombers, ironically, sealed the Ju-188's fate. In a May 1944 raid on Leipzig, 500 Lancaster bombers obliterated the Erla Maschinenwerk factory, incinerating 47 half-built Ju-188s and 300 tons of specialized jigs. The Luftwaffe's own reconnaissance photos, taken by surviving Ju-188s, showed craters where wings should have been. It was a Götterdämmerung of their own making. The very technology meant to save Germany now documented its annihilation. By war's end, only 1,200 Ju-188s had been built. Most never saw combat. Those that did were ghosts in the machine, hunting shadows in a war already lost. Eyes in the sky, target on the back. The Ju-188's brief reign. But for a fleeting moment in early 1944, the Ju-188 soared as the Luftwaffe's last credible ace. Its reconnaissance missions over southern England became the stuff of Allied nightmares. On April 12, a Ju-188E from Aufklärungsgruppe 122 slipped undetected through cloud cover near Portsmouth, its RB-2030 camera snapping images of dummy landing craft, part of Operation Fortitude, the elaborate D-Day deception. Though Ju-188s photographed the English coast, German intelligence failed to identify the real invasion sites, partly due to Allied deception efforts. It was a catastrophic mistake by the Germans. The real invasion force, hidden in Scottish locks and Cornish coves, remained invisible. The Ju-188's lenses saw everything except the truth. When pressed into bombing raids, the Ju-188 proved equally formidable. Its Lotfa 7 bomb sight, a gyro-stabilized marvel, could drop 3,000-pound payloads with a margin of error of just 50 feet. But the Ju-188's brilliance was also its curse. Allied air superiority forced it into roles it was never meant to play. By late 1944, desperate crews strapped FUG-218 Neptune radar sets to their bellies, transforming these high-altitude predators into makeshift night fighters. The result? A Frankensteinian compromise. Pilots like Franz Stegler, an ace with 28 kills, lamented, "Flying a Ju-188 at night was like bringing a scalpel to a chainsaw fight." Without dedicated radar operator training, crews misidentified stars for bomber formations and clouds for flak bursts. In one comically tragic incident, a Ju-188 crew chased a weather balloon for 30 minutes, mistaking its metallic coating for a Lancaster's fuselage. The final indignity came in March 1945. With fuel reserves exhausted, Ju-188s sat wingtip to wingtip on abandoned runways, their cameras now documenting the Soviet advance. A few were jury-rigged with missile explosive drones, flying bombs guided by pilots who'd eject at the last moment. None never struck a target. The Eagle had become a kamikaze crow. What if the Falcon had flown sooner? Historians have long wrestled with the Ju-188's greatest mystery. Could it have altered the war's trajectory if deployed earlier? Let's crunch the numbers. In 1941, during the Blitz's peak, the Luftwaffe had 1,200 Ju-88s. Replace half with Ju-188s, and the calculus shifts. Their speed would have evaded chain-home radars, their cameras pinpointing RAF airfields and radar stations with surgical precision. A May 1941 strike on RAF Poling, a critical chain-home low station, failed because Ju-88s couldn't locate it. A Ju-188? Its RB-2030 would have spotted the station's 360-foot towers easily, potentially blinding Britain's early warning system before the Battle of Britain even peaked. But Hitler's obsession with vengeance over strategy doomed such possibilities. Resources bled into the V-2 rocket program, a wonder weapon that consumed 20,000 tons of steel and 6,000 technicians to kill 2,754 civilians. Meanwhile, Juncker's plea for 5,000 Ju-188s was denied. In his famous memoir, Inside the Third Reich, Albert Speer admits, the Führer saw bombers as unheroic. He wanted London erased, not photographed. However, the ultimate what-if lies in the Atlantic. In 1943, U-boats relied on rough coordinates to hunt convoys. The Ju-188E, with its oceanic range and razor lenses, could have provided real-time convoy tracking, resurrecting the wolf pack tactic. Instead, Dunitz's submarines groped blindly, while Ju-188s wasted their vision on burnt-out factories. So, was the Ju-188 a missed opportunity or a delusion of grandeur? Perhaps both. It proved that even a genius can't outfly a crashing empire. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to join us on the next historical dig. Until then, remember, history is full of hidden gems if you know where to dig.